We're going to go ahead and get started with the workshop itself. I'll stay on mute. We will have a time for questions. I've also catered this workshop according to the questions that some of you had when you filled out or when you signed up for the workshop itself. So if you have any questions at the end, we'll go ahead and go over those towards the end. So a little bit more about myself. My name is Lita, and I'm the owner of Growing Your Private Practice Virtually Consulting, where I consult with therapists in group setting and one-on-one and provide learning tools. I also own Stress-Free Private Practice Management, where I help clients grow, scale, and manage their practice by providing virtual assistant services. And I have created a mental health directory called Your Mental Health Today, where therapists can list their free and paid mental health tools. So in this workshop, our objectives for today are going to be your purpose for blogging, blogging benefits, why blogging can grow your practice, and getting started with picking a blog topic. So I like to start off with identifying your blogging purpose for a couple of different reasons, but some people in general have concerns about how to get started with blogging, and identifying your purpose for blogging will motivate you to get started. This can be called a mindset shift. So oftentimes we dread doing things that we don't understand. And oftentimes it's the purpose that we don't understand. When we understand what the purpose is, we're more likely to actually follow through with the task and not procrastinate. As a private practice owner, your purpose for blogging is to make a connection with your audience. In order to make a connection, you need to be relatable and be a source of educational value. So when we're blogging, we're not necessarily trying to make a sale. We're not selling anything. We're offering a service, but we are offering a service by educating the audience base with what it is we actually provide and why you, as the practice owner, or the group practice in general, is the best option for them. So just to kind of keep in mind what your purpose is for blogging will definitely help you to, kind of establish that blogging flow. And in the beginning, it might be a little bit of a challenge to establish your purpose. But I think if you think deeply and you really make it about making a connection with your audience and building that trust, that you'll find that it will come easier for you. So we're going to be going over the benefits of blogging in general, and this is going to be a short little overview, and we're going to go into detail some more about it. So we're going to focus on the SEO rankings, building organic site traffic, connecting with your audience, highlighting additional offers, promoting approaches, certifications, and specialties, building an email marketing list, and creating organic content for social media use. So the first thing we're going to go over is SEO rankings. Blogging helps boost SEO quality by positioning your website as a relevant answer to your customers' questions. The more you blog, the better your SEO advantage is. So the reason this is because Google searches through your website for these keywords that your audience is typing in. When they're looking for an answer to their problem, they're getting online and they're typing it in. And if you have the answer in a blog post, you're more likely to show up in the search itself rather than anyone else. So making sure that you're thinking about what is relevant to your audience when blogging is going to help you to be able to add those key terms in there without it being too spammy. It's also going to, on the back end of your SEO, you can choose your specific keywords, which will also help to be relevant to your audience in general. Build site traffic in an organic way. So utilizing your keywords that are specific to your audience and the questions that they may have. So really analyzing some of the questions that your audience may have is going to be key for you to be able to build that site traffic in an organic way. Now you can pay for site traffic. However, when you're building it in an organic way, you're taking what you're already doing and what you already need to do to produce social media content, and you're just making it more available to your audience in general. So we've discussed how connecting with your audience is very important. Blogging is a great way to connect with your clients. You can be personal with your audience by sharing some of the things that you enjoy that are relatable to your audience. So we want to establish connection and trust, because if we're doing that just through a blog post, then if they actually feel like therapy is the right direction for them and they choose to go with you, they already feel this sense of connection and their decision is validated by that sense of trust and connection. So, for example, you don't necessarily want to tell them your whole entire life story. Wouldn't it be a very good professional relationship to have? However, giving them little bits and pieces of information that are more relatable is something that can be done. So, for example, if you decide to write a blog post on self-care, and let's say one of the topics is to embrace a hobby, you can share with them maybe one of your hobbies to, be more relatable with your audience, to make that connection and establish that trust. You can also share with them maybe your child's favorite hobby or whatever may be relevant to the situation by sharing something that's personal to you. Not over personal, but just enough to have them feel that sense of relatability. Highlight additional services you provide, like workshops and groups. Blogging is the best place to inform your audience and then offer additional tools to help them with what they are currently struggling with. So when you are blogging, you are educating. And what better way to educate than if you have some type of offer or an additional service that you're wanting to provide as well too. So say that you do have some group therapy sessions available and you're looking to promote this group therapy session, you can talk about how group therapy is beneficial. So when you're making a blog post saying how group therapy is beneficial, and then when you're actually making that blog post, what you can do is have a call to action at the end of the blog post itself, saying if you're looking to join group therapy, click here to sign up or to learn more, or whatever the case may be. So you're advertising an additional service that you provide. And on top of it, you're still giving them really good information about something that may be beneficial for them in the future. You can also promote workshops, support groups, podcasts, anything like that as well. If you can blog around it, put a call to action at the end of the blog post as well too, so that it'll be beneficial for your audience. Promote and highlight your knowledge of your specialty, approach, and certifications. This will help you establish trust with your audience, assuring them that you are the expert in your field. So this is something that I like to touch base on because I have noticed, I have the virtual assistant side of things, and every now and then I will step in, help answer calls. And I know during COVID, I think people had a lot of time to do research and to look into things. And since then, I've actually had people that call up and say, I'm looking for someone with a mindful-based approach, or I'm looking for someone that has a CBT certification, or I'm looking for someone that specializes in trauma for women. So if you have any of these specialties, approaches, or certifications, they need to be emphasized. You need to talk about them. You need to explain to them. Some audience don't know what they are, but when explained, they might think to themselves, this could be really beneficial for me. And since she's the one explaining it, or this practice is explaining it, I feel comfortable going in the direction of choosing them for therapy services. So really identifying your specialty, your approach, and your certifications in any way you can is going to be beneficial. And it could be something as easy as a mindfulness approach, one that will work best for you. And then you can explain in the blog post exactly what that approach is and how you use it during therapy sessions. Build your email marketing list. So at the end of the day, this definitely is our main goal. We want to be able to use blogs, to have a call to action, to have people to sign up for your newsletter. The reason being is when you send out an email, it's more of a permanent communication. Now, of course, they can delete it. Some may, but then that's how you know how to narrow down your audience and who is your actual audience, and then how to actually approach them. So providing a call to action to your blog post will prompt clients to give you their email for additional opportunities for you to offer other services in the future. So when you're sending out an email newsletter, The way I personally send out my email newsletters is I have a featured blog on each of my newsletters. And then I have some additional services or offers that I also have available as well too, like this free workshop. Like if we're accepting new clients for virtual assistant services or consulting services, and then kind of getting the word out about the directory as well too. You can do the same thing when you are sending out these emails to your audience as well. Also, everyone loves something free. So you can make sure that when you ask them to sign up, you give them something in return so that they feel like, okay, that was a good decision. I signed up. I got this in return. And then hopefully they'll see the information that you're sending over to them on a monthly basis, and it will be useful for them. And they'll want to continue to follow you as a practice owner or the practice in general to learn additional information. Sometimes you really have to build up that groundwork and establish the connection and the trust in order for them to actually pick up the phone and schedule even a consult call or schedule an appointment in general. So this is going to help with those efforts. And with your email, it's not something that you just kind of scroll and see. It's something that you have in your own email that you can choose to keep and go back to, or you can choose to delete. Either way, it's also establishing a better way for you to track what your audience is actually doing, if they're clicking on things and if they're opening your emails, and that lets you know what's relevant too. If you had a blog on there, let's say you had 3 blogs, and out of all 3 of those blogs, one got way more clicks than the other 2, then you know that that's a topic that people want to hear about and maybe want to learn more about. And you might even be able to create a series of blogs based off of that information that's been collected. So create organic content for social media use. That'd be easier. So when you use your blog post to create social media content, you are only promoting content that is yours. This will help drive traffic to your website and boost your SEO rankings. So I'm a big believer in making sure that when you share things on social media, it's predominantly your information. It is your organic content. And the reason I say this is because at the end of the day, you don't necessarily want to promote someone else's information. Now, I am a big fan of backlinking, and I'll just touch base on that a little bit. It's where you do promote another website by talking about something that it is that they're offering and then providing a link for them to check it out themselves. That's another great way to boost your SEO rankings. However, that should be every now and then. It shouldn't be a blog post or any social media content that's shared on a daily or weekly basis. Once in a blue moon, once a month, whatever you feel is best is when you should approach it. So for the most part, you should only be sharing your content on social media, and you can use the blogs that you create to actually create your social media content. So if it's 5 tips for self-care, each of those tips can be created into a graphic and then pushed out onto social media or anywhere else that you're looking to share your blogs in general. So now we're going to kind of get started with picking a blog topic. I'm going to explain to you a couple of different ways that you can actually pick your blog topic, and whatever works for you is what I encourage you to start with. But hopefully by the end of this workshop, you'll kind of have some ideas going and you'll be able to come up with an actual blog topic. I am going to be sending out a sheet as well too. It's a free PDF handout that has some suggested topics that can be tweaked according to your specialty. So the first thing that I like to identify is a formula for blogging. There is a formula for blogging. However, not everyone works well with formulas, and that's okay. So there are different options. One formula is to identify the pain point and then identify the solution. Identify what it is that they're struggling with and then give them that solution that they're looking for or that they need to hear or that they just feel would be best for them. The other formula is how to result that they desire most without what they fear the most. So there are a couple of motivators in life, one being fear, money, different types of motivators. And sometimes when we identify someone's fear, it actually motivates them to be able to get over that fear and kind of resolve what an issue is. So as long as you're offering a result that's desired with what they fear, I would say is a good tactic of using this formula. We don't want any blog posts or content that we're producing to be negative. So we want to make sure, yes, we're pointing out a fear that they may have, but we're also giving them a result in the same blog post as well, too. We don't just want to leave them wondering. We want to provide that information for them. If you already have a client base but do not have a blog yet, or if you have a client base and you just have a blog but need some more ideas for topics, you can reach out to your current clients asking them to take a survey. Let them know that you are looking to provide a blog to current clients and would like to know what areas they may need more guidance on. So this email can be presented in a way if I want to provide more benefit to the therapy services that I'm already offering you by creating a blog or, revamping a blog to kind of point out the things that they may be struggling with. Sometimes when you get into session, you've got so many things on your mind that you don't necessarily point out the things that you're currently struggling with, or you're not ready to point it out. You're not ready to talk to someone about it face to face. So providing this way for them to be able to communicate that would be a great way. And it's also going to let you know what a good topic is. It's going to literally guide you right in the direction to what a good topic may be. If you do not want to reach out to current clients, you can go onto different social media sites and see what your audience is talking about. For example, there are plenty of mental health Facebook groups. Join these Facebook groups and see what questions are being asked. If it relates to your specialty and you can create a blog post to help, then start there. You want to make sure that your intentions with blogging are to help and inform your audience. So there are many different social media groups that are based on mental health in general. And you don't have to necessarily interact and, be one to answer questions, but you can see what questions people are asking. Oftentimes there are phases for things. We get closer to the holidays and people are struggling with grief, or just in general struggling with their anxiety and struggling with seeing people. Maybe there are family members that kind of bring trauma into their life, and in this phase that may be something that they're talking about. So kind of knowing what's relevant to your audience can help you decide which blog topics you want to actually write about. So if you do not currently have any audience base, then you will need to study your potential audience, identify their pain points, and then write blogs based on the questions you think they would have. For example, if you specialize in trauma for women, they may Google a question like, how do I move on from a toxic relationship? This method is trial and error. Until you know your audience well, you will need to keep coming up with potential blog topics and analyze the results. So when I mention analyzing the results, most websites where you would be hosting your blog will have the option to look into the analytics of your blogs itself, seeing how many people are actually viewing the blogs, if people are commenting on the blogs. When you're doing this and you're analyzing it, this will help you to understand what topics to go more towards. So for example, if you had something on trauma for women, a blog post on that, and you noticed that you had multiple views on that blog post, yet you also had a blog post on how to manage your anxiety, but not as many views on that blog post, you know that you want to go in the direction of making a series of trauma for women rather than anxiety, because at this moment, your actual audience is kind of telling you exactly what it is that they need. So if they're telling you, you want to be able to answer and you want to be able to provide additional information so that you can connect with them and build that trust and really blog effectively. So I did ask some questions when you guys signed up for the workshop, and thank you for everyone that answered those questions. That does help me to be able to create this workshop specifically for everyone that attends. So that is something that's super beneficial for all of us involved. So some of the questions were how to make time for blogging. And this is probably the most popular question along with consistency with blogging. A lot of people struggle just making the time to actually blog. There are times where I can come across The same thing, different seasons bring different feelings and emotions and different places of where you are in your life. So my best advice is to put it on your calendar, schedule time to blog, pick one day a week and show up to blog. So it's not enough to just put it on your calendar, right? Put it on your calendar, but show up. Actually attend. Actually sit down and write. Even if you only spend your time researching your blog. You didn't even write a blog, you just spent time researching it. It's still time that you're committing to blogging, and it's time that matters. So don't beat yourself up so much if you don't get what you thought you were going to get done in one sitting. Just understand and realize that this is a process, it's a learning process, and to be patient with yourself. Consistency with blogging, once you have it on your schedule, it becomes more of a habit. However, we are all human, so make sure that you stay ahead. Do not publish your first blog until you have at least 12 blog posts written. So what I always say is it's easier to do something if it doesn't feel like a task. And if you're doing it for the moment, it can feel like a task. If you're doing it for the future, if you're writing future blog posts, it doesn't necessarily feel like as much of a task because you don't feel rushed. You don't feel like there's a certain time frame and when you have to get everything done and established. It's more so going to be something that you're going to enjoy doing if you're planning ahead of time. And I don't know about you guys, but when I plan, I feel empowered. I'm like, I'm on top of it. I'm getting stuff done. There's nothing to worry about. And it definitely helps me to stay motivated to actually blog. So another common question is, where do I post and share my blogs? And this is a really great question because sometimes you really just don't know where your audience is, right? So of course, sending it out in a newsletter to your audience is the best place to start. So building that email marketing news or list is going to be super beneficial. Pushing it out onto social media is also a really great place to publish your blogs and share. On your website, of course, you want to make sure that your blogs are always hosted on your website. Directories like your Mental Health Today, local mental health and wellness centers and magazines. Some communities are very versed in mental health and provide additional resources to the community. And that is something that if it is in your community, take advantage of it because that can really benefit you in the long run, especially with establishing referral relationships within your community. And where should your blog be located? Your blog should always be hosted and located on your website. Remember, part of the point of blogging is to get people to your website. Once they're on your website, they may poke around, hit the About Me button, hit schedule a call, hit learn more, whatever the case may be. You want them exploring your website. You want them to be curious. You want them to know a little bit more about you. You even want them to click on other blog posts that you've previously written that you feel may be beneficial for them as well too. That's kind of our way of establishing your relationship with them, building that connection and that trust as well too. So having it hosted on your website is definitely a must. So that is the end of the presentation. I definitely like to go over some questions that anyone may have. If you want to put them in the chat box, you're more than welcome to. If you also want to unmute and ask the question, you're more than welcome to do that as well too. But I do want to make sure that we're going to answer all of your questions. And don't be shy. I know there's questions. This is a new task. Okay, so I think when you refer to the PDF version, you're referring to the free handout that I mentioned. Is that correct, Christy? Okay, so I'm going to be sending that in an email along with the playback of the workshop as well too. So it'll be right in that email. You'll just click right on it and you'll be able to download it and use it as you need it. Great question. No problem.
I just wanted to say it was a great presentation, so thank you for that. And I just wanted to make a comment because I've been blogging for a while, and really what I noticed, like progress in terms of moving up in Google, you know, on onto the first page is when I started doing back things. So when I took a course and I learned how to add meta descriptions and meta tags and alt tags on the photos. And that's when I just saw like explosive growth and started getting referrals. So I just wanted to add that I think blogging is great. And that's like the first half. And then just taking like a little bit of time and learning how to go into WordPress. I am the most tech phobic person. So if I can learn, anybody can learn. And it's really just making some tweaks and like headers and different sizes and using your, your keywords. And it just made a huge difference. So just wanted to add that.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you for encouraging as well, too, because, that's part of it, is being encouraged to be able to do this, right? And it's a very good point. So when it comes to the keywords and key terms and your SEO rankings and everything like that, getting into the back admin part of it, like she mentioned, the meta descriptions, that is definitely something to explore. I didn't touch too much on that because it can be a bit complicated. As you said, you took a course on it, but that can definitely help as well too with your blogging efforts. So thank you so much for sharing. We do appreciate it.
Sure.
So what platforms do you recommend for hosting websites or blogs? Really great question. So I am going to give you my recommendations based off of user friendliness. So there are a lot of complex websites. WordPress is one of them that can be a bit complex. Now, it is on my list of recommendations if you are going to work with a virtual assistant to help and assist you with that practice, or two, if you're going to take course and learn how to operate the WordPress website itself. You need to know how to operate your website no matter what. You always need to be in control of your website because it is such a vital part of your practice. So some of my user-friendly recommendations are Wix. I use Wix for my websites, for my workshops, for signing up for this workshop, and it's super user-friendly, but I also like the experience of my audience as well too. I like that they're able to log into the workshop or sign up for the workshop, and it's really simple, and they get email notifications, and I can automate a lot of things as well too. And Wix is really easy for you to navigate through. So if you did hire a virtual assistant that didn't have experience, you could train them based off of the process and procedure that you create around it. We specialize in Wix. Love Wix. It's our favorite. So that is why I recommend Wix personally. There's also Weebly, which is similar. I just don't think it has as many features as Wix. There's Squarespace as well too. And I do think that Squarespace is really kind of upping their game and becoming more competitive with the features that they offer as well. So either three of those is my top recommendations. And if you really want to get, really into it, WordPress is one that I recommend as well too. But it is a little bit more complicated for the user to kind of get in there and navigate everything. Yes, Blair mentioned that Wix is really great for the email marketing feature as well too. So if you become a member of my website, my consulting website, it will actually notify you through email anytime I post a new blog. And which I think is the coolest thing ever, because that's one less step that you have to do when it comes to blogging. And if people are already actively becoming members, they're your audience base, and you can take that information and automate it right on to them every time you create a new blog post. So that's also very beneficial as well too. So thank you for that question. I appreciate it. Any more questions or anything you'd like to know a little bit more about when it comes to blogging? So that is the end of the presentation. If you need any additional help and you're looking for virtual assistant services, feel free to reach out. We can schedule a free 15-minute call so that you can see if your practice is a good fit for our services. Same thing with consulting as well too. If you need some additional guidance on blogging itself, I can definitely assist with that. We also have some group consulting calls that we do as well too, kind of, relating to everyone else on what it is that you're struggling with. Once you find out other people are struggling too, makes you feel a little bit better in general. And then also the your mental health directory. If you want to get started with blogging and you're kind of a little intimidated about where to produce or where to push your blogs out to, join your mental health today, and you can start off by producing your blogs on that directory as well too. And then I see we have one more question. Where can we learn more about the back end things? That's a really great question. Honestly, um, depending on whether or not what website you're using is really where you can seek more guidance on that. I can also help and assist in individual consulting calls to help you kind of learn more about the back end portion of your website and tracking your blogs, and just kind of getting your SEO and key term words and everything set up as well too. Okay, well, thank you everyone so much for joining. If you have any additional questions, you can stay on and ask. If not, you can go ahead and jump off. And like I said, I'll be sending the replay over to you through email in the next couple of days, as well as the free PDF handout as well, just to kind of give you some information about what some suggested blog post topics will be to get started. Thank you everyone for joining.
Thanks so much.
Mm-hmm.